Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jamie Jones, and I'd like to welcome you to the Dr. Molly Fry Show.
Hey, how are you guys?
How does that sound? Does that sound cool, huh?
Yeah.
The Dr. Molly Fry
I like
Show.
it.
I like it too. Yeah.
I'm glad to see you guys here on this beautiful third.
How was your New Year's?
I am so excited about 2017. It is a year of change. It is a year of just growth and development. I think our country is going to be moving in a different direction. I think our lives are going to be challenging in new ways, and it's all going to be exciting.
Now, were you one of the ones that was happy to see 2016 go? Because there's a lot of those people out there that's... I feel like there's a lot of people who felt like this was a bad year. Just scanning my social media towards the end of the year, there's a lot of people that were happy to see it leave.
I kind of have a different perspective.
Me too.
Having come out of prison. So 2016 was my first year out of prison after 5 years. So from that perspective, I couldn't say
beautiful.
anything. But yeah,
it was beautiful. Exactly.
Help me.
It was
Anyway, however, now I'm looking forward to my second year.
Right.
And that's going to be even better.
Right. True. Could be scary at the same time, is it not? Only reason being is because it's almost like that first year, it's like, okay, I got to decompress. I get ready. I get used to being back home. I get all my restaurants. I get my routine back. But now, second year, it's like, oh, shit, what am I going to do?
I like that perspective.
You know what I mean?
No, that's good. That's good. I like that. Okay, so from the real perspective of the little person who was me, who got out, was I felt completely beaten down. Now, I'm a doctor.
Right.
Okay, and yet 4.5 years in prison, and I thought that I could never offer anyone anything again, that I had nothing of worth and value inside of myself, and that I deserved to be dismissed as the guards dismissed me, as the other prisoners dismissed me. I had adopted this horrible oppression. And so this entire year for me in 2016 has been shedding the skin of the prison experience.
Right.
And I have slithered out of my old skin.
Yeah.
And now I am in this new skin, and I'm telling you right now, I can feel myself feeling confident and secure and excited and looking forward to life. So for me, I'm not afraid to go to the next year. I just barely have recovered from the 4 years of oppression.
4 years of...
4.5, actually. I went on May 2nd of 2011, and I was released from prison September 4th, 2015.
That was rough. Where were you? What part of...
I was in Dublin, which is outside of San Francisco, sort of inland.
Okay.
Pleasanton.
Right.
That area. And a very nice facility. And, okay, prison is humiliating. Prison is degrading. Prison is unbelievable waste of time. But it's not what happens to you. It's what you do to it.
Right.
It's how you respond to it. It's how you interact with it. And so I found a routine and a way to deal with the oppression while I was in Dublin. And Dublin's a nice facility, and I was camp. So we were outside the maximum and medium, and we get all the shipments for the food, and then we put it into the big prison.
Right.
We did all the landscaping. We did, of course, our own cooking and took care of our own crowds as well as the other part of the prison, and made sure everything ran right. So as campers, we're not really, actually there are no fences, and there are no locks. And so we're free to come and go. And so I was okay there. It just...
Did you get to laugh a lot?
You know, I actually, interestingly enough, I really enjoy people and life, but I don't really laugh out loud a lot. That's just in my personality before I went to prison. But no, there's no laughing in prison.
Right.
No laughing in prison. Just let you know. I mean, we have fun and are silly, but they really, there's no... the whole tenor of the human mass that is there is oppressed.
Right.
We're conforming. We're towing the line. We're prepared to have our room searched. We're prepared to have our fruit taken away. That was the biggest thing that drove me nuts in prison. They turned me into a prisoner because it would never have occurred to me before I went to prison to hide fruit.
Right. What took the longest to shed? Like coming out of prison, what routines? Was it all easy to forget, or does it
actually, it's interesting because it's so subtle.
Right.
You don't even realize you're oppressed. You just know you don't feel real like, why would they want to invite me to come? Why would they want to hear what I have to say?
Right.
It's so ingrained that and I'm talking about someone who's a very accomplished human being. That's what I'm saying is so shocking to me, that I got so oppressed. But in a way, I was picked on more in prison because they were jealous and angry at my education. And so instead of looking at me as a resource to help them understand things or to give them advice or to help them with their medicine or whatever, they saw me as a threat and felt intimidated by me and wanted to. The weird thing in prison, we were talking about this before the show, is the operating currency of human relations is vengeance. And that's what was the hardest for me to understand about prison, because my operating currency of human interaction is compassion and goodness. And their operating model is vengeance and getting even and seeing someone else suffer. They delight in punking, which is just messing with someone until something bad happens to them and not
That's
to
awesome.
you.
She said punking. I love it.
You know what? My spell checker doesn't know how to spell punking. When I was writing it in my book, and it kept saying spell check. There's no such word as punked. But I'll tell you, I got punked twice when I was in prison, and it sucked.
Yeah.
So back to shedding my skin. Just go back to the year. It's more a process, like getting over an illness. Every day I grow stronger. Every day I feel better. And suddenly in this last 2 or 3 weeks, I have felt this surge of energy through my whole body that says, you're ready. You're ready to go. You're ready to lead. You're ready to, whatever's coming next, you're ready. And a confidence and a sense of well-being. So
good.
Yeah.
And that's probably coincided with the finishing of your book.
That's been wonderful too. You know, interestingly, I was Jack in the Box, and the whole time I was in prison, dun, 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 and then I went, pop goes the weasel. And when I popped out of my box, I had so much pent up creative energy that I banged that book out in less than 6 months. Now it took me another 6 months to edit it, but it was like boom, exploded out onto the page. And I also exploded in cooking. If you can believe this, I got out of prison. All I wanted to do was cook. Every day I cooked. I cooked and took food to places. I took food every Saturday to Steve. I just had to cook and cook and cook and cook because I wasn't allowed to cook in prison.
Oh, yeah. So it's funny what you take for granted. Like,
Absolutely.
when you can't do it. Like, yeah, I don't want to cook you guys dinner tonight.
Right, exactly.
Like, in the normal life, go away for a couple years. Like, hey, who wants to eat?
Yeah, I'll make some food.
Exactly. Midnight. I'll make a 3-course meal.
Right. Oh my God! One time my landlady came up and it was 2 p.m. and I've got 3 burners going and I'm making soup and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I go, "I'm cooking coconut spicy shrimp soup. Do you want some?" And she's like, "Oh yes,
I would love some." Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. So yeah, so now the book is, as I just alluded to, finished.
Woo! Okay, it's 70 chapters long, and it is a story of perseverance and growth and strength. It's my autobiography of how I came to become a cannabis activist and what the consequences of my activism ultimately ended up with the prison, and leaves the reader with the idea that we really need to stand up for our rights and for what's important to us, because otherwise there's lots of powers out there that will take away our freedoms and limit our access to lots of stuff.
Very true. You've been an activist for us in the cannabis world for a long time.
But that was not by design. That was by accident. I developed breast cancer in 1997, and that was the year that the marijuana statute of 2015 was coming into practice. And so I tried to get a note from my oncologist so that I could have cannabis, and he was unwilling to do it. And that led to my activism because, as the beginning of the movement, many people became victims of police harassment.
Right.
And when the police came to harass myself, even though I was bald and obviously quite sick, they were unwilling to accept that I had a right to use cannabis because the doctor didn't write it on a note. But so that started my business.
Right.
And so my husband and I started a medical legal consulting business to provide documentation for patients who do not want to go to prison for using cannabis, which made a lot of sense to me.
Wow. So you were one of the
very
first people writing
Yeah,
prescriptions.
Dr. Todd did it in San Francisco. Yeah.
Were they prescriptions or recommendations?
No, they're recommendations because, and this is the thing, the statute says that if your doctor says it's okay for you to use marijuana, you have a defense against going to jail. Okay, so this is not medicine. This is saying the doctor thinks that using cannabis is less harmful than going to prison.
Right.
So the doctor thinks that I shouldn't go to prison for using my cannabis.
Right.
Okay, that's not practicing medicine. That's practicing politics and law and being an advocate. And so really that was when I reemerged with this business. That's what got me in a lot of trouble, was because the medical board wanted to control and regulate me, and I just had a bad attitude. I'm kind of like that. And my bad attitude was, excuse me, I'm not practicing medicine. They have their own primary care doctor. They have their own heart doctor. They have their own cancer doctor. I am taking their records. I'm looking at their records, and I'm going, yeah, you're legitimately sick. Does cannabis help you? And they're going, yeah. And I'm going, well, then you don't belong in jail.
Exactly.
No, you don't belong in jail. That's all I'm saying. Right. And I will go to court and testify that was what my fee was for. I'm giving you a document that is a promissory note to go to court and testify for you in the event that something bad happens.
And once you started doing that, it started working?
Yes,
was it
I started going to court, and I was
speaking
in
on people's
25
behalf?
trials, and amazingly enough, one of the easiest things I could do on the planet is say, so help me God. Because I want all God's help. I need all the help I can get. And I have no problem doing what God wants. And this is true that I could say the truth, so help me God. And juries believe me. So I did 25 trials, and all 25 came back with a not guilty verdict.
That's awesome.
And that pissed people off.
That pissed people off. I can see that. Who do you think was pissed off the most? And that's all this is in your book. But you don't want to talk about some of this.
This is far more detailed. My book is more mystical. I mean, if you can think of a mystical plot book, but it really is. But who
got pissed when you started doing this? Was it the town sheriff? Was it the city legislator, the council person?
All of the above?
All of the above, the mayor, everybody.
Well, okay, El Dorado County is a huge county in just outside of Sacramento, and it extends all the way to Lake Tahoe, which makes it a very wealthy county.
Right.
Okay, and very, 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 very conservative. And so if I had been in San Francisco, I never would have gone to prison. But because I was here in El Dorado County, they were very offended by my stance, and so I angered the sheriff. Right, I angered the sheriff, and the narcotics division were my first encounter. I called them up and I said, "Come out to my house. I've got cancer and I'm growing pot." And because I'd gotten wind that they were already investigating me, so I might as well just get them out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was in '99, and so. They, said they were going back to the district attorney to make a case against me, and ultimately they decided not to. But so the district attorney, Gary Lacey, also really was very upset
Not
about
happy.
this whole thing. And then Dale ran for district attorney in 2000, and that meant that they had 4 debates all over El Dorado County. And Dale, it was a 2-man race, and it became a 3-man race with the only topic they discussed was marijuana enactment of the Marijuana Law 215.
Right.
And they didn't want to talk about that in 2000.
Right.
And they were really pissed at Dale for making them
bringing
talk
that-
about
yeah.
that. And then he got 20% of the vote, and so he blew the election, so nobody won, and they had to have a special election. So that was
We gotta
another
talk some
thing
more.
that pissed them off.
Let's talk some more about cannabis.
Yeah. Well, he didn't run in the special election. It was
right.
only the top 2.
Oh,
but
right.
the point is we made it the focus of the government in
Right.
El Dorado County, and they just were really shocked. They weren't expecting. I think they just thought that they didn't have. I mean, lots of people are growing pot
Right.
up in El Dorado County. It's a beautiful rural community, but they just didn't expect to have us take them on. And then Dale and I, with a bunch of the neighborhood activists, formed a group called AAMC, which is the American Alliance for Medical Cannabis. And that organization meets on the 3rd Saturday of every month to this day.
Awesome.
And they're a group of community citizens who grow marijuana for their own medical needs and want to be sure that El Dorado County maintains their rights to grow their own medicine.
Right, that's awesome. So their own little lobbyist group, their own
Right,
little,
our own, right,
little
and
lobby.
local
local
government.
lobby.
That's what you
yeah.
want. You want
Damn
government
right.
from the people. That's right.
That's
So yeah, so it was a whole sort of evolving of a situation that caused them to call the feds. They first had to identify that we had not broken any California laws, and when they realized they could not arrest us under the California law, that's when they called the federal
That's when
government.
the feds had to come in. We need you guys to stop them, please.
Right.
We don't have any way to do it.
Eliminate the power.
Yeah, that is. Ain't that? That's crazy.
Yeah.
So your husband went to prison as well?
5 years. We both got the minimum mandatory. 5 years in federal prison.
Is there any regret
Oh no.
to
I have no regret.
joining
But
this
here's the
movement?
thing, here's the
Even
thing.
in jail, like you're sitting there and someone just punked you, and you're like, "Why did I?"
Well, okay.
And that's not fair because those are fleeting moments
Right.
of
And
that doesn't
here's
mean
the
you
thing.
felt that way the whole time.
Exactly. Oh, none of us ever.
Exactly.
And see, here's the whole thing: is that we really, I really was blessed in the sense that I could not, for the life of me, understand that I could go to prison for this. Okay, because I was so certain that this was correct.
On the side of
That-
right.
Right. That the plant is made by God. It has medicinal properties on a human, animal, also mammalian animals, birds, and fish. And therefore, the plant and the animals have been on the planet together. So, what is wrong with this plant? Nobody ever dies from it. It doesn't make you violent or angry or beat your wife or
Right.
yell at your kids.
Right.
And as far as I can tell, it doesn't even impair your ability to drive. So what is wrong with this plant? And so that was sort of the discovery I was in, and I just couldn't get it through my head that I was going to go to prison. And this all played out for 5 years. And so in 2005, they'd already raided us in 2001, 2005. They finally arrested us. So we weren't even arrested initially. We're just sitting there. And all the time I'm researching and learning about how great marijuana is and how much it's helping my patients. And I got my business going, and I'm traveling all over California, and I'm having clinics in Santa Barbara and in Redding, and and so I'm trying to push the movement forward.
Right.
Which of course it exploded forward as a result of everyone's efforts. And so anyway, so as I'm doing this, I'm just in this deluded state that, look at it, it's all fine, nothing's going on. They raided us, they took all our files, but they didn't do anything. It's all going away. And part of the raid was they collected information from the we didn't know this till we were arrested, from the sheriff's visit on previous years. So they added the plant count because the statute is a 5-year statute. And so if you grow 20 plants in 5 years and they've counted them, then you're going up for 5 years. So that's how they took us down, was they added the plants over years to get 100, because that's the federal limit. But anyway, so that's neither here nor there. But like I said, because I didn't understand any of these things, and I was so certain I was right and that the patients were benefiting and that this was my destiny, was to help sick and dying people.
Right.
That I just never really comprehended I was ever going to go to prison. And even during the trial, I thought that justice would be done. And then when we were found guilty at sentencing, I thought that the judge would do what he did for Ed Rosenthal, because in the Ed Rosenthal case, a federal judge ruled 1 day time served, and he had a 5-year minimum mandatory sentence. And so I thought the judge would be lenient. This was 2008, and I thought things had changed.
Right.
And he considered himself lenient because I guess they could have charged us with $2 million fine, and we could have gone up to 20 years in prison. I didn't understand all that, but someone pointed that out to me, that actually 5-year minimum was his lenient. It was his most lenient.
Was the smallest he could.
Well, okay, but then he left us out on appeal because he knew he'd made errors. Specifically, that the cop came to our property and said, "Dale, you're doing a great job of growing marijuana for your wife. We think you should continue, and would you guys open a business so that you can identify these medical patients and show us who's the criminals?" Right. And I looked at him and I went, "You know what? Criminals, your job.
Yeah.
People, my job. Yeah, good idea. We'll open a clinic." So that was sort of, it came out of them asking us to do the job. And then I do the job, and then they raid me and arrest me. And all the time they kept coming to our house, Dale would say to them, "You know, I have several patients who are dying who don't have gardens and aren't going to live another year, or who live in apartments or financially aren't able. And so is it all right, since I have property and I'm already growing for Molly, if I give them our leftover medicine and be their caregiver?" And they go, "Oh, sure, no problem." And so they encouraged him to become a caregiver. So we had 10 people we were supplying marijuana for. And so that, you know, by the that year, when we had 10 people that they'd encouraged us to supply for, you know, we had like 40 plants. But the funny thing was that the 40 plants had 30 of them had gotten spider mites. And so I had pulled them out of the nursery and thrown them into the compost pile. And so when the DEA actually showed up, there were only 10 live plants, but they counted the 30 plants in the compost pile because they were there. And they said, if it has a stem and roots and a leaf, it's a plant. And I go, "But it's dead." And they go, "That makes no difference. It's a plant. You have 40 plants in your house."
Right here. Oh,
right, because otherwise we wouldn't have gone to prison that year either.
Oh, man.
Oh, these people.
Yeah,
anyway, so
it could be easy. I think we talked a little bit about this last week, but it could be easy to be bitter about this.
Well, right, and that's
And
back to denial.
Right.
See, because denial is such a great thing. I mean, you can manage to live through horrible experiences. So then he leaves us out on appeal. So that's 2008, 2009, 2010. And then we hear that, "Oh, you're going to prison." So now I've been living with this for over 10 years of this threat of going to prison. And it's like surreal. And I cried for 5 hours. I was hysterical. How could God have let me down? I thought for sure we'd win an appeal.
Right.
And then I went and took a shower. And I just felt this incredible power descend over me. And he said, "This is my will. Accept it. I will give you the grace." And I walked out of the shower, and I never cried again. And I was fine, because now I knew I was on a mission from God.
Right.
And so no matter what the suffering was, he was going to help
He heard
me through
me.
it.
Yeah, he heard me at least.
I was in it together. It was he and I together.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then, you know, but unfortunately Dale doesn't have the same connection I have with whatever the creative energy that runs the universe is. And so he came out of prison with a lot more anger and frustration than I did.
Right. And it stemmed from the injustice, or the
absolutely. I think
is it
also,
the movement not having his back,
and the disappointment, all the stuff. I mean, because the thing is I think that just like when you have a baby, you do not comprehend what it's going to be like to be dealing with a 14-year-old.
Right.
Okay, you got this cute little baby. Okay,
Right.
and so for us, we had this cute little baby, which was a new career in what I saw it as practicing, a really therapeutic medicine by giving people an opportunity to use a non-toxic herb instead of all these stupid pharmaceuticals,
Right.
and to prevent them from having legal ramifications of this really good medicine. And I believed in marijuana since I was a young child. It's, I'm a kid who was born in the late 50s and grew up in the 60s and 70s, and marijuana just didn't seem like such a scary thing to me throughout my whole life. But anyway, so for me, it was an opportunity to fulfill my destiny, and it's always been that way. So I'm not bitter because this is my destiny. What am I going to do? Go, oh, well, I didn't want that life, God. Can we just do this and do over? I want a new life? No, you just go, okay, well, this is the one I got, so I guess I'm going to make the best of it. But for Dale, it was a career. And to lose our house, to go to prison for 5 years, to have all 5 of our children move on with their lives and start new lives while we were gone, and to lose our marriage and all the things that we've lost out of the conflict and the stress, that really that was what destroyed our family, is the stress around facing a prison sentence and having, I had 5 children and my 2 grandchildren at that time living in my house with me and Dale, and we're running this huge operation for 3 years before we go to prison, and it's just nothing but sad and dysfunctional and miserable and angry and frustrated and confused because we're all in limbo.
Right.
And that's what destroyed us more than anything.
So is there, if I'm not being too personal, is there hope of bringing him back to the movement?
He is in the movement.
Or he still is. He's still
an
with
attorney.
it. Oh, okay,
He's
good.
still an attorney. He did not lose his license.
Okay,
and,
good.
He basically is trying to start a new law practice in the medical marijuana business.
Beautiful.
And, he's very familiar with the new regulations that are going in, the MCRSA, and he's also familiar with ALMA. He's been involved in a number of debates, and he's available for consultation to help people get their businesses up and running. And that's what he wants to do. He's just trying to, recover.
Yes.
Because
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah,
I'm glad
and
he's
I'm proud
still
of
on the
him,
horse and didn't let it destroy him. He may have that bitterness and anger about what happened to him, but he's still moving on and finding it again. So salute to him. Salute to Dale. Please come in, join the show one time, talk to us.
Dale.
Sit down with us, tell us the story. I'd love to hear it. But yeah, so now we're home. We wrote a book.
Yeah.
What else do you want to do?
Well,
we talk to people beautifully like this, and tell them stories of what happened and what's going on. And I feel like it's important to get out the story here in the beginning. So I'm kind of, even last episode and today, I've kind of started at the beginning, and we're going to take them on the journey week by week into now and what we want to do for moving forward.
Sounds
but
good.
we have to, kind of put it all in concrete of what we come from, where it stems from,
Absolutely.
and now on to this.
It's
I
been
think
a long...
So you can't practice medicine right now.
Well, okay,
but
here's the situation with that is, to be totally honest, I never really liked to practice medicine. Okay, because when I graduated from medical school was in 85, and as I'm graduating, they redefined who I was. And my mother was a doctor, my dad was a doctor, my grandfather was a doctor, and I have generations of doctors down both sides of my family. And I was taught as a small child that to go to medicine is to go to a calling. Like a priest is called to the church. You're called to give up your life for the benefit of your patients.
Right.
Okay, so to me it was this incredible creative and self-giving love that I went to medicine with. And I would, get into the workplace in 85, and they go, okay, let me just tell you, you're a healthcare provider, and that is a healthcare consumer, and you are a business, and this is your job, and those are the people who are utilizing your skills. And I went, excuse me?
Right.
That is not what I signed up for.
Way more impersonal and...
Right. And so anyway, I got a job. I started working as a family practice doctor, and they had they wanted to start this doc in the box thing, with the urgent cares, where you have a combination, your family practice, but you have a trauma room, so you can take in cuts and broken bones and stuff like that. And I was down in San Diego at a place called CarePoint, Mercy CarePoint, the Catholic hospital. And what they wanted me to do was to cultivate a private practice while simultaneously handling all these emergencies, which in theory sounds like a good business model, but in reality is not the truth of what getting to know a community and being a part of a community, and healing a community is all about.
Watching families grow and
and that's family practice, and handling emergencies is another thing.
Completely different.
And they smushed the two together. So, and then they understaffed me, and I had a trauma room which was about the size of this room here, but I had a crash cart with the paddles, but it takes 2 doctors and a registered nurse to run a code. You do not do it by yourself, because if you're injecting drugs into that patient, somebody else has got to be looking at the monitor telling you they're responding or not. That's the 2 doctors. And when you're sitting there trying to deal with the patient doing compressions or whatever you're doing, you've got to have the nurse drawing the drugs. So you need a doctor to call the code and say, we want this, we want that, do that, running it, and you need the nurse to get it, and you need you to do it. And so these patients kept walking through the door with really serious injuries, like I was in an emergency room, when all I was one little doctor all by herself with an LVN. And
so you kind of fell out of love with the industry of it a long time ago.
And
anyway.
so do I really want to be a doctor with all that pressure and malpractice and all the expectations? No. What I want to do now is reinvent myself as a cannabis educator. And as a cannabis educator, I want to be a public speaker. I think that I could be a motivational speaker. I have a lot of really inspirational, good things to say.
Hell yeah.
That's right.
Damn right you do.
I know that there's a niche out there that I'm going to fit, but I haven't found it. But I feel like I'm being drawn to Washington.
Yeah, I think you're
I want to talk to the senators and on Congress, if they'll hear me, about what's wrong with prison and why the recidivism is 80%. 80%. Oh my God, are you kidding me? You got 100 people and 80 out of 100 are going back within 3 years? Oh,
shout out to my cousin Amir, keeps going back.
Oh no. Mr. Bill,
please stop it. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is just a failure. This is not working. Okay,
not at all.
Change the system. So I have things to tell them if they'll listen. I also believe that I could be a voice for the injustice of this drug war against specifically cannabis, but the total drug war. And that maybe they need to hear about that. Maybe they really need to think about descheduling cannabis. And I want to be there on the hearings when we talk about descheduling.
See, they just scheduled CBD into level 1.
No.
Just 2 weeks ago.
No.
The feds has went and said there is no, and they made it a Schedule 1.
You do
CBD.
realize CBD that comes from the hemp plant, which is the same CBD, is scheduled as a nutritional supplement by the FDA.
Right.
Okay, so who's more powerful? Obviously, the drug people are more powerful than the FDA, but the FDA is. Yes, we have a person.
Hey.
Who?
Smoke?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's all good. Tell him, give me 2 minutes.
We have to end. I hear that our time is done.
Yeah, they're taking me in all directions. But we got a beautiful half hour to sit and talk. Next week we'll be half an hour. So we'll get
we'll be more practical. We're getting to know each other too.
We are.
That makes the quality of our program.
And I love it. We're not in a hurry here. We're gonna take this journey really organic in the right way. Cool. Take our time, do it right the first time, do it well. Build up a nice little flow, which I think we have pretty naturally.
I think we do. I
think yeah, it feels good. So yes, look out for us again next week. And then next week we'll have
Oh, wait, I got to tell the audience. Okay, this is 3 o'clock.
We did it last week. 3 o'clock. Remember, we talked about it on
right.
the air.
Were we on the air?
Yeah,
Okay.
but we didn't do it on there. I asked you about it on
Right.
there.
I want to say this to everybody out there. This is 3 o'clock, and I want you to take a deep breath and just be grateful. Be grateful that you woke up this morning, that you have people in your life that you enjoy talking with, that you have a new perspective and a new opportunity to do better. Amen.
Yeah, I'm thankful for my life. The life I have, I love it. My wife, my kids, my job, you.
You've got a lot to be thankful for.
I do. I'm happy. I'm happy. I feel thankful.
So thankful.
Also for our listeners out there, I am having a charity event on Saturday, the 21st of January. You guys know me. I get impulsive and I just announce something online, then I have to do it. So this time it's a clothing drive. It's been cold out there in them streets. So here in my office at Can Accelerate Interesting Media offices, Saturday, January 21st at 10 a.m. Please bring any warm jackets, blankets, sweaters, shoes, slightly used. Please wash them first and bring them up here. And what we do usually every year, a couple times a year, is we put all the clothes in a big pile, and then we take sizes, and we make size-specific bags. So there's extra large in a jacket, a sweater, a blanket, and hopefully some shoes. And then with donations that people could donate through our PayPal,
You round it out.
then I buy socks.
Yeah.
I buy socks and lip balm, and if I can find gloves for really cheap, I'll buy those, or beanies and stuff.
Great.
So yeah, last year I think we've clothed over 500 people in 2 events. So on the 21st, we'll be here 10 a.m. Anybody, please tell a friend, bring the kids. I think it's important for our kids to know, to be of service to others. I literally do this for no other reason than we should.
Yeah.
There's no church about it. There's no outside. It's just because we should help people.
Well,
we have an
point
avenue to help people, so we're supposed to. So let's do that. So please, there's no affiliate about it. It's just come in. Let's get together. I love the fact of the people doing for the people, like not asking other companies or governments.
Right. On a
it's just us. Do for each
level.
other.
That's
Let's be brothers and sisters with our people.
Well, and I
bottom.
would go even further because this is just who I am. So I think that every one of these listeners who wants to participate should go to the St. Vincent de Paul thrift store or any other thrift store and just buy for $7 a warm jacket or 2 or 3 for this event.
Exactly.
Because there are so many cold and homeless people out on our streets in Sacramento.
And it's been a really
it is
cold
shameful.
winter. Yeah.
And it's going to be a very cold winter, and we really need to support the others that have less. Because if each of us can share what we have with those who have less, no one will go without.
No one will need nothing. That's how I feel. So please come out Saturday, January 21st here at my office, 10 a.m. We turn some music up loud. We laugh a lot. We work together. A bunch of people who didn't necessarily all know each other come together for good cause, and then we just go downtown and pass it out to whoever's cold. There's no
And I'll tell you, nothing will make you feel better about yourself and about your life than giving something of yourself to someone who has less.
Right.
And that's what gratitude is all about.
Right.
Every day, if you can be grateful for what you have, then that causes you to recognize there are people who have so much less than you.
Exactly.
And how can you help them? Just one-on-one. I'm one little person who can help. And I actually have, sometimes, not right now because I've run out, but it was Christmas. I have little cards that I get at Carl's Jr. or Jack in the Box for $5, $10. And then when I see a homeless person at the bottom of the freeway, and normally I'd be embarrassed or upset, I have something to give them.
See, I do that all the time. That's awesome. So yes, that's what we do. And just as one person, well, not one person, because a lot of people were involved in this, but because of these events, we fed over 3,000 people last year with feedings. We've passed out 150 backpacks to kids at the beginning of the school year, just so that they had a full supply, everything in the backpack: binders, papers, notebooks, pens, markers, glue, every single thing. And we clothe people, so it's kind of what people need. So thank you. Thank you. The good Dr. Molly Fry. Look for her next week. We'll have all the social media and stuff set up next week.